I stood frozen as flames devoured my wedding gown. The ivory satin that took 6 months to perfect melted into blackened ruins at my feet. Evelyn Hartwell, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, clutched a lighter in her manicured hand. Her face twisted with triumphant rage as smoke filled the bridal suite of the grand pavilion. "Now you can't marry my son," she declared, her voice shaking with hysteria. "Daniel needs someone from our social circle, not some nobody from the wrong side of town." She tossed her designer purse over her shoulder, looking immensely pleased with herself. "My name is Charlotte Avery, and at 25, I never expected to watch my wedding dress burn 30 minutes before walking down the aisle." My 3 bridesmaids stood frozen in shock, their lavender dresses a stark contrast to the smoldering fabric. The dress held my late mother's vintage lace from her own wedding. That lace was irreplaceable, and Evelyn had just destroyed it. "Mrs. Hartwell," I said, my voice surprisingly steady as I reached for my phone, "you have no idea what you just did." She laughed, the sound brittle as breaking glass. "What I did? I saved my son from the biggest mistake of his life. You think a community college education and a job at a local advertising agency makes you good enough for a Hartwell? My Daniel belongs with Victoria Bennett. Her father owns half the city's real estate." I pressed a button on my phone, watching Evelyn's face carefully. My bridesmaid Amy moved quickly to open a window, trying to clear the smoke now filling the elegant room. "The wedding's off," Evelyn continued, waving her hand dismissively. "I'll just tell everyone you got cold feet. Daniel will be upset for a while, but he'll understand eventually." Her confidence was absolute, her smile cruel. She had no idea what was coming. "Are you sure about that?" I asked, turning my phone screen toward her. On it was a live view of the ceremony space, the elegant rows of white chairs, the floral arch at the altar, and the massive projection screen now displaying a perfect view of this very room. The screen showed Evelyn in all her destructive glory, lighter in hand, my ruined dress smoking at her feet. Her face drained of color instantly. What is that?" she stammered, her confidence cracking. "The wedding live stream," I explained calmly. "For Daniel's grandparents overseas and my brother who's deployed. It's been running for the past 20 minutes, capturing everyone arriving, the musicians setting up." I paused, meeting her horrified eyes. "And you destroying my wedding dress while announcing your true feelings about me." The room fell silent except for the faint crackling of burnt fabric. Evelyn's perfectly composed mask shattered completely. "Turn it off!" Evelyn lunged for my phone, her perfect composure coming undone. "You planned this. You set me up." Amy stepped between us quickly, her hand raised. "Mrs. Hartwell, everyone just watched you commit arson on live video. I think you should take a moment to consider your next move." The phone in my hand buzzed with incoming messages. My bridesmaid Taylor glanced at the screen and gasped. "It's Daniel. He's coming to the bridal suite right now." Evelyn's eyes widened in panic. She looked frantically around the room as if searching for an escape route, her breathing becoming rapid and shallow. "This isn't what it looks like," she said desperately. "I was just testing the fabric. Wedding dresses are supposed to be flame retardant." From my phone, we could hear murmuring from the gathered guests. The camera angle had shifted. Someone had taken control of the live stream. The new camera angle showed the wedding party's reaction. Daniel's father sat stone-faced in the front row, his jaw clenched tight. Daniel's best friend was already rushing toward the building, phone pressed to his ear. Most telling was Daniel himself, no longer waiting patiently at the altar but sprinting up the center aisle, his face a mask of shock and fury. "Charlotte," my bridesmaid Sophia whispered urgently, "what are we going to do about the ceremony? Should we tell everyone to go home?" I looked down at the smoldering remains of my dream dress, now just blackened scraps on the antique hardwood floor. The practical part of my mind, the part that had put myself through college while working 2 jobs, was already calculating next steps. My mother's lace was gone forever, but I wasn't defeated. "No," I said firmly, surprising even myself. "The ceremony is happening. Just differently." The door burst open violently. Daniel stood there in his tuxedo, his eyes moving from my face to his mother to the ruined dress on the floor. Behind him, the venue manager and his father appeared, both looking horrified at the destruction. "Mom," Daniel said, his voice dangerously quiet and controlled, Tell me I didn't just watch you burn Charlotte's wedding dress while saying she isn't good enough for our family." Evelyn's demeanor changed instantly, her panic transforming into practiced manipulation. "Sweetheart, you don't understand. I was protecting you. This girl has been after your money from day one. I was testing her character, and—" "Stop!" Daniel cut her off sharply. "Stop lying. I heard everything." He turned to me, his eyes softening with pain and apology. "Charlotte, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she would do something like this." I could see the genuine shock in his face, the betrayal he felt. I stepped carefully around the burnt fabric, moving toward Daniel. "It's just a dress," I said, though we both knew it was much more than that. "But your mother just showed exactly what she thinks of me, of us, in front of everyone we know." My voice remained steady despite the emotions churning inside me. Daniel took my hands in his, seemingly oblivious to his mother's sputtering protests behind him. "What do you want to do, Charlotte? It's your call. We can postpone, cancel, whatever you need." Before I could answer, Mr. Hartwell appeared behind Daniel, his expression grim and disappointed. "Evelyn, what have you done?" His voice was low, controlled, but with an edge I'd never heard before. It was the voice of a man who had reached his breaking point after years of patience. "Richard, please," Evelyn pleaded desperately. "You know the Bennetts would be a much better match. Their family has been part of high society for generations. As opposed to Charlotte, who built a successful career through hard work and determination." Mr. Hartwell shook his head in disgust. "You've gone too far this time, Evelyn." My phone continued to buzz with notifications. I glanced down to see messages pouring in from guests who were watching everything unfold on the live stream. The comments ranged from shock to outrage to overwhelming support for me. The venue coordinator hovered nervously in the doorway, wringing her hands. "Miss Avery," she said hesitantly, "the guests are asking what's happening. Should we make an announcement?" I looked at the ruins of my dress again, then at my bridesmaids in their lavender gowns. A plan was forming in my mind, one that would turn Evelyn's attempt to sabotage our wedding into something entirely different. Something that would show her that destruction doesn't always lead to defeat. "Tell them there's been a change of plans," I said clearly. "But the ceremony will proceed in 20 minutes. Evelyn scoffed loudly, her face contorted with disbelief. "In what? Your underwear. You can't possibly—" "In my backup dress," I interrupted calmly, watching her confident expression falter. The room fell silent. Daniel looked at me in confusion and hope. "You have a backup dress?" I hadn't, of course. But 6 months of working with temperamental clients at the advertising agency had taught me to always have a contingency plan, to think quickly under pressure. "Sophia," I turned to my bridesmaid, "remember that photo shoot we did for City Bride magazine last month? Call Elena and ask if her sample dress is still available." Sophia's eyes widened in understanding, a smile breaking across her face. "The ivory sheath with the lace overlay? It should fit you perfectly." Mr. Hartwell stepped forward immediately, pulling out his phone with determination. "I'll have my driver pick it up." "Where is it located?" As they coordinated the dress retrieval, I watched Evelyn's plan unravel before her eyes. I turned back to Evelyn, who stood watching in disbelief as her carefully orchestrated sabotage fell apart. "You really thought a dress would stop this wedding?" I asked quietly. "After everything Daniel and I have been through together?" Her face reddened with rage and embarrassment. "But everyone's watching," she hissed, gesturing wildly at my phone. "They all saw what happened. You'll be humiliated." "Yes," I agreed calmly, "they did see what happened. And now they'll also see what happens next." I turned to address the camera directly, knowing hundreds of guests were still watching and listening. "To everyone waiting, thank you for your patience. The ceremony will be slightly delayed, but love always finds a way, even when someone tries to burn it down." A cheer erupted from the phone speakers, the guests in the ceremony space showing their support. The sound was overwhelming, bringing tears to my eyes. Daniel squeezed my hand tightly, pride evident in his expression. "Mom," Daniel said firmly, his voice carrying authority I'd rarely heard from him, "you need to leave. Dad will take you home. You are no longer welcome at our wedding." Evelyn's face contorted with rage and desperation. You would choose her over your own mother? After everything I've done for you? After all the sacrifices? Her voice rose hysterically. After what you've done today? Daniel countered steadily. Absolutely. His words hung in the air like a final verdict. Security appeared at the door. Mr. Hartwell had called them while we were talking. 2 uniformed guards waited respectfully but firmly. This is ridiculous! Evelyn shrieked as the guards approached. Richard, you can't let them do this to me. But Mr. Hartwell just shook his head sadly. You did this to yourself, Evelyn. I warned you to accept Charlotte, to let Daniel make his own choices. You chose this path. As security escorted Evelyn out, her protests echoing down the hallway, an unexpected calm settled over the room. The next 20 minutes passed in a whirlwind of organized chaos. While Evelyn was being escorted off the property, Elena from City Bride magazine arrived with not 1 but 3 sample dresses. The bridal suite transformed into an impromptu fashion headquarters. My bridesmaids, the venue coordinator, and even some female guests who'd volunteered to help work together seamlessly. This one, Amy declared, holding up an elegant ivory sheath dress with delicate lace detailing along the neckline and sleeves. It's perfect for your figure, and we can have it ready in minutes. The venue's seamstress, who had originally been hired just for last-minute adjustments, worked miracles with safety pins and quick stitches. Meanwhile, Daniel had returned to the ceremony space to address the guests in person. Through the live stream, which someone had thoughtfully positioned toward the altar, I could hear him speaking. His voice was steady despite everything that had happened in the last hour. Today didn't start the way any of us expected, Daniel was saying to the assembled guests. But Charlotte and I have always believed that it's not the perfect circumstances that make a marriage work. It's how you handle the imperfect ones together. A round of applause followed his words, warm and genuine. I smiled as Sophia adjusted the borrowed veil on my head, securing it carefully with pearl pins. There, she said, stepping back to admire her work. You look absolutely stunning, Charlotte. The dress wasn't what I'd planned to wear when I became Mrs. Daniel Hartwell, but as I looked in the mirror, I realized it suited me perfectly. Simpler, more elegant, and somehow stronger than my original choice. Like me, adapting to circumstances rather than being defeated by them. The lace detail reminded me subtly of my mother's lace, though it couldn't replace what Evelyn had destroyed. Still, it felt right, as if my mother was still with me somehow. Mr. Hartwell knocked gently on the door before entering. His eyes widened when he saw me, genuine emotion crossing his face. Charlotte, you look beautiful. He paused, his expression pained with regret. I want to apologize for Evelyn. Her behavior was inexcusable and unforgivable. You don't need to apologize for her, Mr. Hartwell, I replied honestly. You didn't burn my dress. He nodded gratefully, seeming to appreciate my words more than I expected. Daniel sent me to tell you that everyone's ready whenever you are. He added with a small smile, and your boss from the agency is here. Apparently he's documenting everything for what he calls the greatest viral wedding marketing campaign the city has ever seen. I laughed despite everything. Trust Marcus to see a promotional opportunity in disaster. The advertising world had taught me that sometimes the most compelling stories come from overcoming unexpected challenges. That's what made campaigns memorable and shareable. The venue coordinator appeared at the door, slightly out of breath. We're ready when you are, Miss Avery. The musicians are prepared, and we've adjusted the lighting to complement your new dress beautifully. Wait, I said, an idea forming in my mind. The live stream is still running, right? When she confirmed it was, I made a quick decision that felt absolutely right. Can we project it in the ceremony space for a few more minutes? I'd like everyone to see us walking from here to the ceremony area. The whole journey, not just the arrival at the altar. Understanding dawned on the coordinator's face. That's brilliant. Give me 2 minutes. She disappeared to make arrangements. 10 minutes later, as my bridesmaids and I made our way through the venue's garden path toward the ceremony space, I knew every step was being broadcast to the waiting guests. Not as a traditional bridal entrance, but as something more powerful, a statement that nothing, not even a vindictive mother-in-law with a lighter, could stop this wedding. As we approached the doors to the ceremony space, I could hear the guests' applause growing louder with each step. The sound was thunderous, overwhelming, filled with genuine emotion and support. Daniel waited just inside the entrance, his face lighting up when he saw me. The love in his eyes made everything worth it. "Ready to get married?" he asked, taking my hand gently in his. His thumb brushed over my knuckles in a familiar, comforting gesture. "More ready than ever," I replied, squeezing his fingers. The ceremony that followed wasn't the one we had rehearsed, but it felt more authentic than anything we could have planned. As I walked down the aisle in my borrowed dress, guests rose to their feet, applauding rather than maintaining the traditional reverent silence. Their faces showed not just the usual wedding joy, but something deeper: respect, admiration, solidarity. Mr. Hartwell stood proudly in the front row, occasionally glancing at the empty seat where Evelyn should have been. His eyes met mine briefly, conveying wordless support and approval. Our officiant, Pastor Williams, improvised beautifully. His years of experience showed as he adapted seamlessly to the unusual circumstances. "Dearly beloved," he began warmly, "we are gathered here today to witness not just a wedding, but a triumph of love over adversity. Charlotte and Daniel have already faced their first challenge as a couple, and they've met it with grace, resilience, and unwavering commitment to each other." During our vows, Daniel added lines that hadn't been in our rehearsal. His voice carried clearly to the back of the room and beyond, to those watching the live stream. "I promise to stand by you against anyone who tries to come between us," he said, his eyes locked on mine. "Even if, especially if, that person is from my own family. You are my choice, Charlotte. Today and always." Tears pricked my eyes as I responded with my own addition. "I promise to face every challenge with you, not against you. To build a life based on respect, not tradition. To choose love over approval." When it came time for the exchange of rings, a moment of panic crossed Daniel's face. The rings had been with his mother during the pre-ceremony preparations. We'd completely forgotten about them. Mr. Hartwell quickly stepped forward, producing the velvet box from his pocket with perfect timing. "I took the liberty of retrieving these earlier," he explained quietly, his voice barely audible. "Just in case." The gesture spoke volumes about his character and his support for us. After we were pronounced husband and wife, the celebration that erupted seemed to release all the tension that had built up throughout the afternoon. As we walked back down the aisle together, I noticed Marcus, my boss, filming discreetly from the side. He gave me a thumbs up that somehow managed to be both professional and genuinely emotional. The reception that followed in the Grand Pavilion's ballroom had an atmosphere unlike any wedding I'd ever attended. Instead of polite conversation and standard wedding rituals, there was an almost festive defiance in the air. Someone had hastily created a custom filter for social media featuring a phoenix rising from ashes with our names underneath. "Your wedding is trending locally," Amy informed me as we entered the reception, showing me her phone screen. "People are using hashtags like Phoenix Rising and Can't Burn Love." Daniel's college roommate Blake, who worked in public relations, approached us with his phone. "The City Times wants a statement," he said. Their lifestyle editor saw the live stream. Apparently her sister was a guest, and they're calling it the city's most resilient wedding of the year. "Tell them we're just grateful for everyone's support," Daniel replied, his arm secure around my waist. "And that true commitment means facing obstacles together, not running from them when they appear." As the evening progressed, I noticed Mr. Hartwell speaking intensely with various family members. Damage control was evident in his gestures and expressions, the way he commanded attention and respect. Daniel's Aunt Barbara approached our table during dinner, leaning down to speak privately. She was one of the few family members I'd always felt comfortable around. "Richard is beside himself," she confided quietly. "Evelyn's been escorted home, but she's threatening to cut Daniel out of the family business if he doesn't come to his senses. Richard told her that after today, she's the one who needs to worry about her position in the company." Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. "Dad's always been the backbone of the family," he said softly. "Mom just never realized it because he let her think she was in charge for the sake of peace." As our first dance began, I couldn't help but notice the empty tables near the front of the room, spaces reserved for Evelyn's country club friends who had quietly disappeared after the incident. In their place, colleagues from my advertising agency had moved forward, filling the void with genuine support and celebration. "Mr. Hartwell is handling damage control like a professional crisis manager," Marcus commented, approaching us after the dance with 2 glasses of champagne. He's personally thanking everyone for staying while subtly letting Evelyn's allies know they won't be missed in the future. Daniel nodded, watching his father work the room with newfound respect. I think this is the first time I've seen him stand up to her so publicly, he murmured. 27 years of marriage, and today was his breaking point. The wedding photographer, initially hired by Evelyn, approached us cautiously. Mrs. Hartwell, she said with a warm smile, emphasizing my new title. The younger Mrs. Hartwell. I've captured some beautiful moments today, but I wanted to ask about the dress incident. Some of the guests took photos. Would you prefer I request they keep those private? I exchanged glances with Daniel before answering. We discussed this possibility. Actually, I think honesty is the best approach here. This is part of our story now. We're not hiding it. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a notification. The short clip of Evelyn setting fire to my dress had already been viewed over 15,000 times on a local news page. The comments section overflowed with support, interspersed with stories from other brides who had faced difficult in-laws. You might not have planned it, Marcus said, scrolling through the comments on his own phone, but you've started a movement. Standing strong in the face of toxic family relationships is resonating with thousands of people. Daniel's cousin Nathan appeared at our table, his expression a mixture of embarrassment and determination. He was close to our age and had always been friendly. I want you both to know that not everyone in the family shares Aunt Evelyn's views, he said firmly. Most of us think she crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. What she did was unforgivable. Thank you, Nathan, I replied, genuinely touched. That means more than you know. As the evening progressed, Daniel received a text from his father. He read it silently before showing me the screen, his expression a mixture of relief and sadness. Your mother has locked herself in the guest house. She's demanding I choose between her and that girl. I've informed her that her behavior today has made my choice remarkably easy. We'll discuss consequences when you return from your honeymoon. Proud of you both. Dad. Are you okay? I asked Daniel quietly, searching his face for signs of regret or doubt about his choice. He just effectively lost his mother over me. I'm better than okay, he replied, squeezing my hand reassuringly. For years I watched Mom undermine Dad, belittle you, and manipulate everyone around her. Today she finally showed her true colors to everyone, not just us. It's like a weight has been lifted. I can finally breathe. The honesty in his voice convinced me he meant every word. This wasn't just about choosing me, it was about choosing a healthier future. As the reception continued, I noticed something remarkable happening. Guests who had been stiff and formal at the beginning, Evelyn's side of the family and their social circle, were now relaxing, engaging more genuinely with my friends and family. Without Evelyn's watchful, judgmental eye, the artificial social barriers she'd maintained for years were dissolving naturally. Mrs. Hartwell, the venue coordinator, approached with an unexpected smile. There's something you should see. She led us to the entrance of the ballroom. There, prominently displayed on an elegant easel, was a large photo frame filled with dozens of handwritten notes from guests. The heading above them read, Messages of Love and Resilience for Charlotte and Daniel. Your bridesmaids organized this, she explained. They asked guests to write messages of support after what happened. The response was overwhelming. I read through several notes, tears streaming down my face. You showed us all what real strength looks like. Love always wins. Your grace under pressure inspired me to stand up to my own toxic family. 3 months later, Daniel and I sat in our new apartment, scrolling through messages on our phones during a quiet Sunday morning. The wedding had become something neither of us expected, a catalyst for change. Dad says Mom's still staying with Aunt Patricia, Daniel said, setting his phone down. Apparently she's the only person who still believes her version of events, that she was just testing the dress fabric and everyone misunderstood her intentions. I smiled, adjusting the throw pillow behind me. The same pillow embroidered with a phoenix that Amy had given us as a wedding gift. The advertising agency had received multiple new client inquiries specifically asking for the team with the wedding dress phoenix. Marcus had even asked if we'd consider being part of a panel discussion on crisis management and maintaining grace under pressure. That morning, we'd received an email from a women's foundation asking us to speak about standing up to toxic family dynamics. Only if you want to, Daniel said, reading my expression. We can keep this private if you prefer. I thought about the hundreds of messages we'd received from people facing similar challenges. Maybe our experience can help others, I said. Not the way we planned to start our marriage, but authentic. Daniel smiled, pulling me close. Like us. The dress Evelyn burned was gone forever, along with my mother's irreplaceable lace. But what rose from those ashes? Our strengthened relationship, Daniel's newfound independence, Mr. Hartwell's transformation, and the inspiration we'd given others, was worth so much more. Evelyn had tried to destroy our wedding. Instead, she'd ignited our freedom.